It's April 13, Ukraine Media Center current forum continues its operation. My name is Vasil Samakhvalov, and now we will be talking about the celebration of Easter and staying safe during such celebration. We will talk about it with the representatives of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. First will be Roman Rudak, Deputy Director of the Department for Emergency Prevention at the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. And the question is simple. The Easter is coming. What should people do to what should the priests do? What should the government do, and local governments, for example, to have this holiday celebrated in the safe manner? Good morning, everybody. Before celebrating Christmas, we want to talk to everybody about adherence to the elementary safety measures to have the holidays pass safely and not result in any losses and damages, either material or, to God forbid, life and health of the citizens. We know that the cult facilities such as temples, they have historic and material meaning for the state. The majority of such temples were built long time ago, even when the wooden structures were used for construction, and so those buildings may pose some fire hazard, and during the celebration of Easter there will be a concentration of citizens in all those buildings, and those are the factors that pose certain hazards, and both priests and other responsible persons, one day before the celebration of Easter, should be briefed on the safety measures to understand their actions in case of any emergency or other similar situations. So all those buildings should be equipped with the fire extinguishing equipment and fire alarms, which would inform of the fire or other emergency. Everybody should adhere to the safety measures while putting the candles. The candles should not be put on a distance closer than 1 meter to the flammable materials. The chandeliers should be installed properly to prevent them being capsized and spill over any flammable substances. The personnel should pay attention to the concentration of people and prevent the temples from being filled with people, to make sure that the evacuation routes are not obstructed with specifically with flammable materials. And in the temples, the so-called balconies, the second or third levels where the church choirs are usually located. We know that the choirs usually include the elderly, and the evacuation routes go through the staircases, which sometimes are steep and sometimes they are spiraled, which complicates the evacuation. So before the celebration, we call all the church adherents to pay attention to that fact. Also, the State Emergency Service of Ukraine insists to have all the personnel of the temples not to ignore the air raid alert signals, because we know that not forget about the martial law in the state. It's necessary to understand where the closest shelters are, to move there in case of the air raid alert signal. Also, we want to draw your attention to the equipment with elementary fire extinguishing measures. I mean, the fire extinguishers. All the temples should be equipped with the fire extinguishers. So This is in brief about the safety measures during Easter. Well, I will invite Mr. Oleksandr Khorunzhyy, the press officer of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, who has some figures about how people will celebrate Easter beyond the temples. People may go out on the picnics, and that may pose some additional hazards. Good morning, everybody. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Well, I would like to continue the speech of Mr. Roman as to reaction to the emergencies. Almost 7,000 personnel will be, and about 2,000 units of vehicles will be on duty during Easter celebrations. In case of complication of the situation, we will reinforce the units with the personnel up to 13,000 people and up to 3,000 units of vehicles. If we take into account, for example, Kyiv region, Kyiv garrison, more than 420 people will be on duty and more than 120 vehicles will be engaged in ensuring safety and security during Easter. We are ready for any developments, and I want to say that the mobile teams will be on duties, which will include the service management, and they will be on duty 24/7. We have coordination with the local governments on all levels in terms of fires and other emergencies. We have operational plans for the facilities where the celebration will be going on. There was an inspection of the water supply channels, and the service is ready to fulfill tasks according to their duties, including during the celebration of Easter. Well, maybe a couple of pieces of advice regarding the mine safety. Maybe there are the occupied areas, people will want to go out in the forest for a picnic, and it may be not so safe to go there. Yes, we urge everybody, specifically those living in the deoccupied territories, specifically those territories which are which were liberated after active warfare. It's desirable in places like this to decrease the concentration of people, because the enemy is vile and cowardly, and we know that they may inflict strikes on days like that. Like Mr. Roman said, people should be informed and they should be aware where the nearest shelter is. Don't ignore the air raid alert signals. Also, regarding the fire safety and mine safety, I want to emphasize the mine safety in those territories. We urge you not to go out in the forests, grooves, water reservoirs. Don't walk into abandoned buildings. Don't approximate the abandoned enemy material. Don't go into the road curbs, and don't use secondary roads, specifically ground roads. Walk and drive on the concrete asphalt roads. Just wait a little bit and wait until our pyrotechnic units clear the territory. 164,000 square kilometers are potentially contaminated with the explosive devices, and almost every day we have reports of emergencies when people get injured or die as a result of unexploded mines explosions. So let's wait with the picnics just a little bit. I'm talking specifically about the territories which were recently liberated. So let's pay proper attention to the safety measures. Please, questions from the floor. Victoria Shevchenko, Ukrinform. We will have the commemoration days coming soon. How many cemeteries are still mined and such as posing hazard to to the citizens of Ukraine, and in which regions are they located? As to the mining of the cemeteries, I want to say that it's more about the deoccupied territories of the areas of the active warfare. So we pay everybody's attention to the fact that first you have to get advice from your local government whether this or that cemetery is clear of the explosive devices, whether people may come there for the days of commemoration. All the information is being channeled. It's not only state emergency service personnel who works on that, also the armed forces of Ukraine and Ministry of Internal Affairs and mine operators, pyrotechnics, they work there, so you better consult with your local government to make sure that those cemeteries are clear of their explosive devices. Talking about this specifically about the places most densely contaminated, the Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Donetsk, in part Mykolaiv, Sumy, Chernihiv, even Kyiv regions. However, Kyiv region, almost all the critical infrastructure objects are clear of explosive devices. Maybe some minor areas in the forests and fields still remain not demined, so those are the territories which may be contaminated with the explosive devices. But please just ask for details from your local governments before visiting such places. What I would like also to add is in Kharkiv region there was information from the local government, from the local military administration, that more than 500 cemeteries may be still mined. Then last question is not about the Easter, but it's still important. The meteorological center reported about the potential flooding. The snow keeps melting, specifically in those places where the hydrotechnical structures were destroyed. It may result in flooding. So what is the situation with that? The situation is under control. We coordinate with Ukrainian Meteorological Center and we warn both local governments and Ukrainian citizens about the increase of the water level. We made such warnings before the last days on the 12th and 13th of April that in Dniester River in Zalishchike the flooding will continue and it will increase. The level of water will go up 1.2, 1.7 meters. Upper Dnieper, the level of water will go up 0.3, 0.5 meter, and some of the agricultural lands may be flooded. It's a level 2 of threat. It's 12-13 April. The growth of the water level in approximately 20 centimeters per day. The flooding of certain areas, specifically in Novgorod-Siversky, Chernihivsky, Siversk region, districts of Chernihiv region, the river Snuv, the level of water went up there too, and on the river Voronov, well, you see what the weather is like. It keeps raining and the water level may go up, which results in flooding. The water may go over the dams. The river Vorona, it's near the city of Tismenitsa in the Ivano-Frankivsk region. The level of water is expected to go up to 0.6 meters. The work of state emergency service in those flooded areas is like that. As of today, 7 o'clock in the morning, the Dnieper River flooded 275 yards in 7 villages and towns in Chernihiv region. There is no flooding of residential areas. However, the transport communication was suspended with a couple of villages. it was the result of the flooding of Desna River in Khorunzhyy and Siversk region. The transport moves using detours, and on the 12th of April, between Novgorod-Siversky and the village of Beregovo, we transported more than 70 persons using the motorboats, and the river same. Its flooding resulted in suspension of transportation with 9 villages in Nizhyn district. The vehicles use detours to get to those villages. There are no casualties and injured. The units of the State Emergency Service keeps working on resolving the situation. It's still temporary, and in case of improvement of weather conditions, the flooding will wane by itself, and the infrastructure will be provided with the necessary supplies and measures. Thank you for this information. We will continue our work at 1400. We will talk to Denis Marchuk about sowing campaigns. See you shortly. Thank you.